You've probably seen it everywhere, right? In your local smoothie shop, as a pre-workout shot, beetroot juice has absolutely exploded in popularity. Today, we're going to cut through all that noise and get right to the science. But what's the real story here? Is this bright red drink a legit health booster, or is it just, well, hype? We're going to break down the actual evidence, see what this stuff really does inside your body, and figure out if it actually lives up to its reputation. Okay, so the entire buzz around beetroot juice, it really boils down to one single key molecule, dietary nitrate. This is the naturally occurring compound that makes beets special, and it's the starting point for pretty much all the big health claims. So how does this actually work? Well, it's a fascinating little three-step process in your body. First, you drink the juice, and you get that nitrate. Then, believe it or not, bacteria on your tongue get to work, converting it into something called nitrite. And finally, your body takes that nitrite and transforms it into the real star of the show, nitric oxide. And this is why it all matters. Nitric oxide, or NO, is what's known as a vasodilator. Just think of it like this. It sends a signal to your blood vessels, telling them to just relax and open up a bit wider. That simple action improves blood flow, gets more oxygen to your muscles and organs, and is just fundamental to your cardiovascular health. It's a huge deal. So that brings us to the first massive claim, blood pressure. I mean, with heart disease being such a major concern for so many people, the idea that a simple juice could help is incredible. But does the science actually back it up?
And the answer is a pretty clear yes, at least for some of us. A major 2022 meta-analysis, that's a study of studies, found that in patients who already had hypertension, drinking beetroot juice led to an average drop in systolic blood pressure of nearly 5 points. In the world of blood pressure management, that is a really significant reduction.
But here's the important detail. The effect was mainly on the systolic pressure. That's the top number in a blood pressure reading, the one that measures pressure when your heart is actively beating. The diastolic pressure, the bottom number, didn't really show a significant change. So the key takeaway here is that the juice seems to specifically help lower that peak pressure during a heartbeat, especially in people with hypertension. All right, let's switch gears to the other area where beetroot juice gets a ton of hype, athletics. You walk into any gym and you'll find people swearing by this stuff, but is it a real deal performance enhancer? And once again, the science is pretty compelling. Remember that nitric oxide we talked about? Well, it also improves how efficiently your body uses oxygen. And what does that mean for an athlete? Studies consistently show it leads to better endurance, it lets you go longer before you hit the wall, and it can even give you a little boost in power. And this isn't just a small finding. A massive 2021 systematic review looked at a whole bunch of different juice-based supplements, and their conclusion was powerful. They said that when it comes to reliably enhancing performance, beetroot juice stands out. That's a huge endorsement from the scientific community. But, and this is a big but, here's the fine print. These benefits are most obvious in sub-elite and endurance athletes. When researchers looked at the absolute top-tier, highly trained sprint athletes, the performance boost just wasn't as clear. It kind of seems that when you're already at the absolute peak of human performance, those extra little gains are just a lot harder to find. Okay, so we've talked about all the good stuff, but what about the downsides? Is it possible to overdo it with beetroot juice? As with pretty much everything, the answer is yes, for sure. It's such a classic wellness trap, isn't it? To think that if a little bit is good, then a whole lot must be better. But our bodies are all about balance, and going overboard with beetroot juice can lead to a few specific problems. Let's start with the most common and least worrying side effect, beeturia. If you've ever eaten a ton of beets, you know exactly what this is. Those powerful red pigments can pass right through your system and turn your urine or stool a pretty startling shade of red. It might look alarming, but trust me, it's completely harmless. Now for a more serious concern, kidney stones. Beets are really high in compounds called oxalates. And for people who are already prone to forming a certain type of kidney stone, consuming large amounts of beetroot juice could potentially make that problem worse. So this is one to be mindful of. And finally, let's talk sugar. While whole beets have fiber to slow down sugar absorption, juicing strips most of that away. That leaves the sugar behind, and with a glycemic index of 64, the juice can cause a pretty decent blood sugar spike. This is absolutely crucial to consider for anyone managing diabetes. Eating the whole beet has a much smaller impact.
So, we've got the benefits, we've got the risks. How do we put all this together into a practical final takeaway? Well, it really starts with getting the dose right.
So what does the research point to? That 2022 meta-analysis on blood pressure found that a daily dose of around 250 milliliters, that's just over 1 cup, was linked to the best outcomes. This really seems to be the sweet spot for getting those benefits without going overboard.
And this gives you a cool little peek behind the curtain of how scientists figure this stuff out. In a typical study, they don't just guess. They take baseline measurements, have people drink the juice, and then they wait for an absorption period, often over 2 hours, to let those nitrates do their thing before they measure again. It's this kind of careful, rigorous testing that gives us confidence in the results.
So let's just summarize it all. On the pros list, you have a scientifically backed drop in systolic blood pressure and enhanced athletic endurance. Plus, it's rich in antioxidants and might even support liver health. On the cons side, you've got the kidney stone risk for some people, the potential for blood sugar spikes from the juice, and of course the harmless but weird beeturia.
Which brings us all the way back to our original question. After looking at all the evidence, where do we land? Is beetroot juice a real deal superfood, or is it just another overblown trend?
And here's the verdict. It's a powerful tool, but it's not a magic potion. The benefits for blood pressure and athletic performance, they are absolutely real, and they're supported by solid science. But it's not a cure-all, and it comes with some important warnings. Moderation is everything, and your personal health, like if you're prone to kidney stones or have diabetes, is the most important thing to consider.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Beetroot juice is the it food today, but next year it'll be something else. The real takeaway here is learning how to ask the right questions. What's the actual mechanism? What does the data really say? What are the risks? Knowing how to look past the hype to find the science, that is the real superpower.